The cold winter weather is coming, and the team at Peerless Boilers, they're ready to help you prepare for this season. It's time to make sure your home is nice and warm for the cold weather. Save loads of money on your fuel bill. Do it now before it's too late and you've got a mess on your hands. Start thinking about replacing your old beast of a boiler with a new high-efficiency Peerless Boiler. Go to peerlessboilers.com, pop in your zip code, and you'll find a dealer near you. Remember, Peerless Boilers, the world's best-built boilers, and proud sponsor of Sid and Friends in the Morning, live from Israel. Talking about tough, I got to get to Jen Harrison. She's about as tough as it gets. You know her story. Many, many years ago, living in Suffolk County, her boyfriend was murdered. And, they never did the right thing by her, ever. She has spent a lot of years out there working on behalf of victims. Victims' Rights is her group. She got so sick and tired of New York and how they put criminals before us that she left. She left a couple of months ago and moved out of Suffolk County and now lives in South Florida. But today's a big day for my friend Jennifer Harrison because she starts her brand new podcast. Very excited for Jen. Starts her brand new podcast today. The name of this podcast, which promises to be terrific because she's great, is Harrison Hits Back. So with that said, here she is, live now from South Florida, not Shirley, Long Island, my friend Jennifer Harrison. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. Definitely not Shirley, Long Island. What a difference. I'm looking at palm trees from my balcony right now.
Yeah, listen, I did that. I lived in Boca for 16 years. I was bored to death. And you'll get bored, too. It's beautiful. It's lovely. You don't have to worry about getting shot. Everything is clean. The weather is nice. But it does get boring. And JJ's really going to get bored, trust me. But I'm glad you're happy. I'm glad you're there. You don't miss anything about New York? Nothing?
I mean, I miss you. I miss Justin. I miss Lou. I miss everyone there. But no, I don't miss the toxicity. I don't miss, remember the night before I went on Bill O'Reilly and one of your shows, I had a drive-by shooting across my house. Lee Zeldin had a drive-by shooting with his kids in the house. And no, how can you miss that?
No, it's true. There's no question that you're in a much safer and nicer place. And is he happy? Is JJ happy so far? Your cute little son?
Oh, he's so happy, Sid.
Good.
So happy. I fought this move for such a long time, and now that I'm here, I don't understand why I didn't do it long.
What's funny is when my kids basically grew up in Florida. Ava was born in New York, of course, in Mount Sinai, and we lived in Tenop Line, New Jersey, but I got fired, and we had to move, and she was still a baby, 18 months old. So my kids, Ava and Gabe, really grew up in Florida. And we were under the impression that Florida had crappy schools and New York had good schools. And then, of course, I got the job back in New York in 2016, and we moved back here. And I came to find very, very quickly that it was a complete opposite, that Ava and Gabe got very good educations down in South Florida, and the schools up here suck. So that's good news for JJ.
It is. And, I did my research. We moved to an area. They have school choice down here, which is amazing. But I didn't want to deal with that every year. So I moved to an area where in district, they have very good schools. He's taking aerospace engineering in 7th grade.
Wow.
The kids are just super nice. They have great sports programs. We went to a football game on Friday night. Friday Night Lights is
that's
huge
a big
down
deal.
here.
That's a big deal down there. High school and college football is huge in South Florida.
Yeah, and it was just amazing. All these kids were dressed up in the American flag. I mean, kids in South Florida love their country. They love their flag, and it's just such a breath of fresh air. And, we were hit by storms, too. But it's so nice to be under the leadership of a governor who actually gets stuff done, and like Ron DeSantis and all of our Congress people down here, and just the government is so different, and there's not a lot of red tape like there is in New York, where it takes years and years to get projects done. Everything gets done at the snap of a finger down here. It's just it's really nice.
You kind of glossed over and went very, very quickly to Ron DeSantis about the storms. And Helene, of course, really battered North Carolina, but Milton did a job on Florida. So I guess you guys are okay.
Who would have thought Milton?
Yeah, right. I mean, not exactly a tough name, but you guys are okay, I guess.
We're okay. We did get 23 tornadoes in my area, but I have to tell you that even through all of that, I still feel safer here than than I did in New York when we left.
Well, listen, you went through a horrible experience, one that no one should ever go through. And the truth is that New York never did right by you. I mean, you had a guy from Ohio, Jim Jordan, who had to come to New York and try to do the right thing by you. And even then, the mayor, Eric Adams, he spit in your face. The governor, Kathy Hochul, she spit in your face. The DA, Alvin Bragg, he spit in your face. The AG, Letitia James, that louse, she spit in your face. So I'm not surprised that you feel the way you do about New York and Florida when you consider that you were done so wrongly here all these years.
Yeah, well, they really did. I mean, Kevin was murdered in New Jersey, and the prosecution was in New Jersey. But you're right. You know, I moved back to New York after he was killed, and I went through the atrocities there. And you know, I wanted to be home, and it just got progressively, you know, pun intended, worse throughout the 20 years after his murder. I never felt safe anywhere after that. And then all of the, you know, I call them the merry band of idiots. They spit in my face, and they spit in the face of victims on a daily basis. And, you know, I've been warning since 2017 about the depraved indifference towards human life sweeping across our country and infecting the brains of, you know, our elected officials, especially in New York. And that, you know, I've been out there fighting the way that I have said so that what happened to my family doesn't happen to yours. And we've been warning of this, and people laughed at me and called me a fear-mongering idiot. And now, you know, we see October 7th, and that now they're spitting in the faces of every Jewish person across the country and in Israel. I mean, these people, you know, raped women, killed people, dragged them out of their homes in their underwear, beheaded babies, burned people in ovens. I mean, like, you know, is this where we want to be as a society? And I knew that this was where we were headed, and I wish that people woke up sooner. But, you know, we have a very important election coming up, and hopefully now enough is enough.
2 weeks from today, folks, believe it or not, it is just 2 weeks from today, Election Day 2024, your chance to vote for Donald Trump and fix a lot of the ills that Jennifer Harrison is talking about. And, you know, just yesterday, for example, Jennifer, my dear friend Thomas Kniff, who served this country proudly. He's a war hero, but on top of that, he's a tremendous attorney. He's representing Daniel Penny. You know the story about Penny. He's a hero. Now, of course, Knipp won't use that word, but I will. Guys on the train. You have this hopped-up guy, Jordan Neely. He's on drugs. He's threatening to kill himself. He's threatening to kill people on the train. I don't know how anybody can make an argument for this guy. Then he is subdued by Mr. Penny and other folks, including an African-American man, and he died. And the guy was all hopped up on drugs, and who knows why he died, but clearly Daniel Penny's intention was not to kill him. But regardless, Daniel Penny saved lives that day. And how does he get rewarded in New York? With an indictment and a grand jury from that piece of garbage, Alvin Bragg. So yesterday was jury selection, but I know that this is one of the stories that really frustrates you. Here's a guy stepping up. More New Yorkers need to be like Daniel Penny, and instead of being celebrated, the guy's looked at as a criminal.
Well, I mean, that's what happens in New York, in Kathy Hochul's New York, in Kamala Harris's, you know, America. And this is what we have to hit back against. This is why I'm doing my podcast. But, you know, Jordan Neely had a very, very sad life. You and I have discussed this on many occasions in the past, I think on your show even. His mom was murdered brutally when he was 14 years old. You know, he has a very,
by the way, we did discuss this. Not only was his mom murdered brutally when he was 14 years old, and this is about the only time I have any sympathy for the guy, it happened right in front of him. He saw it.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Well, I don't think he saw it, but he
saw the body. He saw the body, I
right,
guess.
Right. On his way to school, his stepdad told him that he couldn't go in the room, that his mom was sleeping or something like that, and he never saw his mother again after he left for school. His stepdad disposed of the body that day and threw her in a river. So I can't imagine how traumatic that was for him. Unfortunately, he never got the help that he needed, and even years later, when he was homeless and schizophrenic, or whatever the diagnosis was on the subways, he still never got the help that he needed, even though New York City has billions of taxpayer-funded money going into a nonprofit industrial complex now for homeless and emotionally disturbed people. So where is all that money going? He was like number 50 or in the top 50 for the Bowery mission of people to help. Where were they? You know, the Bowery mission also was responsible for the supervised release of the killer of Christina Lee. So it's just a complete mess. If Jordan Neely got the help that he needed from, you know, the corrupt criminal enterprise that's governing New York City, then he would still be alive. If he should have been in jail or in an institution. None of that happened. And Daniel Penny wouldn't be fighting for his life. And imagine what a different world New York City would be today if Tom Caniff had beat Alvin Bragg in that election.
Oh, my God. That's right. For folks who don't remember, Tom Caniff did run. He did run for DA. He got beat by Alvin Bragg. Unbelievable. You know, you've been very, very critical, as I have, and Curtis coming up next, who loves you, Eric Adams, and I'm not sure he's going to go to jail or any of that, but I think it's pretty safe to assume his political career is dead. After all these indictments and all this nonsense, he's done. He can run again. He ain't going to win. But the guy that looks like he has the best chance of winning, at least on the left, till he has to face Curtis, is Andrew Cuomo. Now, there are three ladies that I speak to often that are the biggest critics of Andrew Cuomo that I know. One is my former co-worker at Fox News, Janice Dean. The other, Tracy Alvino out on Long Island. And the other, you. You have come on this show and blasted Cuomo at every opportunity. So now when you hear that he really has the inside track, he really does, if he runs on being the Democrat nominee for mayor, what are you thinking?
Over my dead body, wow, will Andrew Cuomo ever hold elected office again? And if I have to fly up to New York and work with Curtis to help him beat Andrew Cuomo, I will.
You just echoed the same exact thing that my friend Elise Stefanik, who may join me tomorrow on this show, she said the same exact thing right to Cuomo, right to his face in Congress. But I got bad news for you. I don't want you dead, but you may have to take your dead body because he is going to run, and right now he's the odds-on favorite.
I mean, what a sad state of affairs, right? How much more of a disaster can New York be when Andrew Cuomo, who is the king of all of the crises that New York City is facing, I mean, let's not forget, I wrote an op-ed in the New York Post. You go to the New York Post website, type my name in and look this up. The article will come up. But Andrew Cuomo is the king of all of the crises that New York City is facing right now. You know, Jordan Neely is probably dead because of Andrew Cuomo. Everything that's going on right now with that trial, with Daniel Penny's trial, is probably because of Andrew Cuomo. He's the one that shut down all of the psychiatric facilities that could have helped Jordan Neely and given him a bed. That's why we see a bunch of the emotionally disturbed people running across New York City and homeless people because of Andrew Cuomo. He's the one that made marijuana illegal with all the loopholes that are allowing all of these weed stores and smoke shops, and that he claims to be a hero of now. He's the one, this is the biggest one probably. He forced bail reform down our throats. Andrew Cuomo refused to sign a budget without bail reform included. So, you know, that removed the legislative process. It removed any debate in committees. It removed any floor vote. It removed any stakeholders from the conversation because of the way that Andrew Cuomo forced bail reform into the budget. On a line item vote. Most of the people that voted for it didn't even get to read it because of that, and that's all because of Andrew Cuomo. I mean, his parole board is still sitting there now under Kathy Cuomo, I call her, because it's not anything different than Cuomo. It's more of the same, more incompetence probably. But his parole board is still in office, and they're the ones that are releasing a record number of cop killers and other monsters onto our streets. So, I don't understand how anybody thinks that it will be a good idea to elect Andrew Cuomo as mayor to inflict more of this harm onto New Yorkers. And
you know what the problem is? I'll tell you what the problem is.
Very sad state of affairs.
You just listed like four things that are horrible. They're all horrible. You left out the nursing homes too. But to be completely transparent, and I've told you this before, I've had a couple of dinners with Andrew, and we've talked. He told me way before anybody else knew. You know this. I told you 8 months ago that he was considering running for mayor. And when you sit down and talk to the guy, He is likable. I'm sorry. He's charismatic. He's got big hands. You know what that means? He's a handsome guy. So when you sit with him, he's likable. In fact, at one point during one of our dinners, I was talking about my father, and I got all emotional. And then he brought up Mario Cuomo, and he started to cry. And I'm like, wow, look at this. So I'm just telling you that when people sit with Cuomo and get to meet him, there's a charisma factor that is undeniable. But when you list all of the things you just listed, you would hope at least that would outweigh the big hands, the good looks, the family history. But I'm not sure that's the case. And I got to tell you, most New Yorkers believe with everything you just said, he probably still is better for the city than Eric Adams.
Well, listen, everybody warned what would happen if Eric Adams was elected mayor. And, I'm telling you right now that what's going to happen if Andrew Cuomo is elected mayor, I hope that people listen. I'm not sure that they will. New York is a complete mess and disaster. I'm glad that I'm not there anymore, especially if this is the only option for everybody there. And, I don't elect a Republican. Why, listen, everything that we warned of that would happen is happening. Everything that we warned of that would happen, under a Biden and Kamala Harris administration is happening if President Trump didn't get elected. Everything is just so backwards. We protect criminals. Who cares about the victims? We vilify police officers. During COVID, they wouldn't allow funerals or graduations, but allowed massive protests resulting in riots and businesses burning. New York is trying to erase and indict President Trump for everything under the sun while erecting statues of George Floyd, who held the gun to a belly of a pregnant woman. Women aren't women in sports or to protect them from being raped in the bathrooms. I mean, the list goes on and on. Democrats have allowed their party to be completely, including Andrew Cuomo, completely hijacked by far-left lunatics. Let's not forget that he could not control them. Democrat policies have completely destroyed my life and the lives of many others in so many ways. We talked about it, just now. I was forced to leave New York and move to Florida, where at the very least I know we're safe here. And as I mentioned, what a breath of fresh air to be governed by a real leader who gets things done like Ron DeSantis. And, I plan on doing everything within my power to prevent the rest of the country from becoming New York or California. We have completely lost our way, especially if Andrew Cuomo is the only option. And I mean, how much further down the rabbit hole can we go? So we've all been hit so hard by the very people who swore an oath to represent and protect us, including Andrew Cuomo, who, he might be likable, Sid, but that's because he's an abuser and a narcissist and a sociopath and a master manipulator. So everything that this man says and does is extremely calculated to get the result that he wanted, which is you saying, oh my God, that guy's likable. He wants everybody to walk away and like him and turn that into a vote. But we cannot forget what he's done, which cannot be undone, which are all the things that I listed, and the 15,000 people, over 15,000 people, including my aunt and my step-grandmother, whose lives he completely erased, who cannot be brought back during COVID. And I truly believe that was murder for profit, Sid. I truly believe that he wrote that executive order sending over 15,000 people to their deaths so that his biggest donors, which were, Greater Health New York, Melissa DeRosa's father, who's a lobbyist, his clients, so that they would not lose money on the empty beds if the senior citizens were in nursing homes if the senior citizens were in hospitals instead of nursing homes, because they get paid by the day. Some of them get $440 per bed per day. And so there was a tremendous amount of money to be lost, and that's what it was about. Andrew Cuomo is a sicko. So, I don't know how many more hits we could take, but it's time that we hit back, and we need to hit back with information and truth, and that's just what I plan on doing on my podcast. We're going to hit back against a merry band of idiots, including Andrew Cuomo, and I truly hope that county by county and state by state, we're going to take back our country and restore common sense and decency.
Harrison strikes back quickly in the final 15 seconds. When does the podcast go up? What days? How many times a week? Where can people find it?
Right now, we're only going to be on an hour a week live streams on all of my social media channels. You can go to Victims Rights New York or Harrison Hits Back, and it will be from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. every Tuesday on Rumble, X, I always call it Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
All right, so today's a debut of Harrison Hits Back, and I wish you the best of luck. You'll be on this show forever. I don't care where you live, because you're brilliant and you care and you're right about just about everything. So, you know, you're one of my favorites. Jennifer Harrison, Harrison Hits Back. Check it out, making her debut coming up at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Sweetheart, you enjoy Florida. Be safe. We'll talk again very soon.
Thank you. You too, Sid.
Oh, I love you. There she is, Jen Harrison down in South Florida. She made the move. She said, New York, see you. Bye-bye. I'm out of here. And seems to be very, very happy living in South Florida.